Well, at which point does a trust become something the CPAs should recommend to their clients?
Well, CPAs can recommend trusts in a variety of situations, but the type of situation where it works best for the prototypical client would be somebody who's doing this in advance. If you need to go, or your relative needs to go into a nursing home next week or next year, or even within 5 years, a trust is not going to be the answer for you in most cases. You're probably going to want to navigate to some other planning techniques. But a trust is a great vehicle for somebody who is cognizant of the fact that they can't predict the future. Let's face it, we're all either going to die or we're going to get sick before we die. I hate to break the news to you, but one or both of those things are going to happen to you. And if you're going to get sick before you die, the odds are you might need some time in a nursing home. In fact, over 50% of all Americans will spend some time in a nursing home, and 70% of us will spend some time in some type of long-term care facility. It may not be a nursing home, but we will need some type of long-term care. So a trust is a way for somebody to take their assets that would otherwise be available to pay for the cost of their care and count against them with respect to the look-back period, and also count towards the couple $1,000s that the government allows you to keep if you go into a nursing home and need to qualify for Medicaid. If you put it in a trust and it's drawn up properly, then the assets in that trust don't count as your resources. So in effect, Becky, you'd have two piles of money. You'd have your money, which would count, and the money that was in the trust that doesn't count towards the asset limit that you're allowed to have. Now, the only caveat is you've got to set this trust up more than 5 years before you go into the nursing home. And since people don't have a crystal ball, ideally you'd pick up the phone, you call up God and say, when am I going into the nursing home? And 5 years and 1 day beforehand, you'd set up the trust. We all know it doesn't work that way. So the sooner you can set up the trust, the better. And the CPA can really be a trusted advisor here to let the client know that you have an option, you can set this up, and if you do it properly, and the CPA monitors the tax issues that are going to arise in connection with a trust, it can be done in a relatively pain-free way. Now, a trust is going to be a lot better than giving money to your children or family members, because that's another option. But if you give money to your daughter and she gets divorced, well, guess what's going to happen to half the money you gave her? Or if you give her money and she passes away before you and her will leaves everything to your now ex-son-in-law, who you might not have a great relationship with, he's going to get all your money. Or you give money to your daughter and she gets sued because she hit somebody with her car, and we live in a very litigious society. She gets sued, all your hard-earned assets are now going to be benefiting some stranger. If you put the money in a trust, then it's protected from your daughter's creditors. It's protected in the event that she gets divorced. It's protected in the event that she files for bankruptcy or predeceases you. And it's a lot more efficient, and you can have a much more orderly distribution of your assets and still accomplish the same goals of protecting the money from Medicaid. So I think the CPA really has a lot of value there in identifying different kinds of trusts and what the tax aspects are for each particular client.